Everyone, in just a moment, I'm going to be introducing author AJ Banner about her brand new book called After Nightfall. And I want to tell you, this book is crazy. Oh my gosh, the tension that she builds in this book. I haven't read a book like this in a while. And you know what? She is so lovely. Wait till you hear this conversation. I could have talked to her all day long. And I can't wait to read her next book. So everybody, here is AJ Banner.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited because I am speaking with author AJ Banner, and we are talking about her brand new book coming out this week called After Nightfall. And I love this book so much, AJ. Oh, my God.
Oh, thank you so much.
I spent the entire day with it yesterday, so I haven't let go of it yet. I'm still in there. I'm still in the book.
Wow, thanks. I'm honored.
Oh, my goodness. So, what a ride. Okay, let's just start off with the point of view through the main character, Marissa. Okay. I loved how, like, in her head I was, and, like, the tension that you built with her. I've never read anything like it. As I'm reading it, I'm like, this is crazy. This is so crazy. Like the tension of every chapter. And I just feel so blessed to have read it.
Well, thanks. I'm relieved to hear that. Because I went through so many revisions of this book, trying to build tension and, responding to editors' comments. When you're revising a book, an editor will mark a chapter or a paragraph and say, you need more tension here. You need to build the suspense. So I tried to do that. I hope I succeeded most of the time.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you did. And, first of all, the title, I love that it was After Nightfall. Like, I kept thinking when I went go back to it, I was like, Nightfall, because who says that anymore, really? Like, I just love that.
I have to thank the team at my publisher, Amazon marketing team. I really was amazed at their ability to come up with this title. I had a different working title for a long time. It was called The Night Husband.
Ooh.
But in the end, she's never married to her fiancé in the book, so she's always a fiancé. And then when they came up with the title After Nightfall, I was like, wow, that's the perfect title for this book because it has many meanings. What happens after nightfall? And the person who dies falls from a cliff. So you have these multiple meanings, and it has just this evocative quality. Sometimes if a publisher suggests a different title, I won't like it, or I'll kind of fight for a different, for one that I like. But this was just perfect. I felt like it was the perfect title.
I did too. And you know what? I loved it even more after I was done with the book because, like I said, at first I was like, Nightfall. Nobody says night. It's weird. Like, and then after you read the book, you're like, oh, my God, that is the most perfect word for this book ever.
It does have like a gothic quality to it in the sense that we could think of the word nightfall in a book if you're reading Daphne du Maurier or something from 100 years ago. And I love those gothic, atmospheric books.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I think that it's perfect. It's weird that you say that because I never thought of nightfall as not really being part of the language anymore, but that's true. It's not part of our spoken language. We don't say, oh, well, come and visit me after nightfall.
Right. That's
sense. I mean, you don't look at it. Yeah, I mean, I think it still makes sense to people, I hope.
Yeah. It's like, you know what it is, but it's like, when was the last time you said it? You know what it means, but it's like, when was
never
the last time you said that? And then, of course, like, I look at the cover, and I have been saying this over and over, so people who listen to me are going to be tired of me saying this, but I'm sorry. Lake Union's covers are my favorite right now. Like, I am loving their covers so much, their colors. Like, I feel like in the last year, I can look at a cover and be like, that's Lake Union. It's like, I just know their covers. And this one doesn't. Everybody is looking at this as we are talking, and they are seeing how beautiful these colors are, and then the picture, and it's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
It's stunning. They have a great team at Lake Union. They know what they're doing. And if you look at the hardcover, it's embossed, the letters. They're embossed. They're shiny, and they stick up off the paper. It's really cool.
I'm going to a bookstore just because everybody, I read it on my Kindle, so I'm going to a bookstore just to hold it, just to hold the cover.
Oh.
And to see these colors, like I'm looking at it on a computer screen, so I can't even imagine, like seeing so I visit Barnes and Noble to look at my covers of all the books I've read. This one will be one of them.
Sometimes I go to the bookstore. Sometimes I go there just to run my fingers across the covers.
Yes, me too. Okay, so I'm not weird. All right, good. Okay, so in a thriller, there are a couple of things I look for, and the first one is the first line, and I'm going to tell everybody what the first line is, because Lauren is the girl that falls, okay? So the first line of the book is, Lauren is flirting with my fiance over the dinner I spent hours preparing. Okay, right there, that tension in the first line. Like, she didn't just say Lauren is flirting with my fiance. Like, that's just, it's like over the, right away you go to, like over the food that I made. Like, this is mine. This is mine. The fiance is mine. The food is mine. Okay? Everything is mine. And I love that.
Oh, thanks. I went through a few different revisions of that first sentence. I wanted it to have a voice. I wanted her to have an attitude. So if she just had, Lauren's flirting with my fiance, like, well, okay, well, so what? But if she's got this attitude about it, then I hope it draws people in a little more.
Oh, my goodness. That's what I was thinking. I mean, okay, so this is what I do, everybody. I will read this thriller all the way through to the very last sentence. And then I go back and I read that first chapter again, okay? And I was like, oh, my gosh, AJ is brilliant, because everybody go do that. Go read that first chapter after you have read, because you will see how she set us up for this entire book and that first chapter. And I don't know if I'm correct in this, but the first chapter is one of the longer chapters of the book, because the other ones seem like they're a lot shorter. But it, like, you packed so much into it to tell us about what's going to happen. I was just blown away. And like you said, like, flirting with your fiance is one thing, but her attitude, and I love Marissa's attitude. Okay, throughout the whole thing, I just love her personality and her, I don't know, her like wit, dry wit, I don't know.
Thanks.
So anyway, so this is the last line that I read, okay, because I do that and I go back and then I read that first chapter. The last line of your book for me is the last line of the first chapter, which says, but she is already hurrying home. And the she is Lauren. Just so, I mean, we're not giving anything away, but we're saying, like, when I read it, I was like, I just set it in my phone because I'm reading on a Kindle, and I would just set it down. I was like, oh my gosh, what a ride. It's so good. And did you work on that? Like, is that last line of the first chapter, like, really important to you? Because it's important as a reader to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. The big event occurs at the end of the second chapter. And normally you want to have the big event, the inciting event, the death or whatever it is, happen at the end of the first chapter to keep the reader reading. But then it would have been a really long first chapter.
Right.
So I split it into two chapters. The first chapter is long enough as it is. It's tricky for an author to write. It's the most difficult chapter, the first chapter, because you want to situate the reader. You want the where, when, why, who. You want to draw the reader in, have a sense of the setup of the book, but you don't want to be boring, and you don't want to dump too much information or backstory into those opening. So you have to have just enough information to draw the reader along, but not too much, and you don't want it to be too sparse either, or too short, because then they don't learn about the characters or care about the story. So it was a very tricky chapter for me, to be honest. It was very tricky.
Yeah, you introduce every main character in that first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't because you read it and then you read the rest of the book, and I didn't realize that I had already been introduced. You know what I mean? So when I went back, I was like, oh my God, there they were. They were all right there. Mm-hmm. And then you realize as you're reading, like, how much that dinner party meant. And, as you know stuff, it's like it all starts with that dinner party,
Yeah, and I hope they all become suspects, because that was my goal, to keep the reader guessing who might be responsible for the death, for Lauren's death.
Yes. Yes, and the last line when you say, but she is already hurrying home, that is the last time we get Lauren alive.
I know, poor Lauren. I feel so bad for her.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so perfect. It ended with that. That was the last time we see Lauren alive. And there it is. It was the last line of that chapter. So whenever I see that, and I always have to tell the author, like, how brilliant that was, because, it not only takes you to chapter 2, but it already, it's the perfect way to end that chapter. So I thought that was just brilliant. But I see from all your readers that have gotten this book early, the ones that I've already put reviews up and everything, that everybody is saying this is the best ending that they've ever read. Okay, and even some of the authors that have given you blurbs, like, everybody is talking about your ending, and we are not talking endings. Just to say that I am so happy for you that you are getting so much love for your ending.
Thank you. Well, the ending is interesting because I did have a different ending, and then I think it was in my second revision for the publisher, maybe the third, I just had this idea. I'm like, oh, it needs another twist, and there's this plot hole, and and if I add this twist, it would fix that. So I added the twist, and it worked. I think it works. I like it myself.
Oh, my goodness.
No, it's too gimmicky or something, but
No. As a matter of fact, that's why I went back to look, because I don't read any reviews before I read it. I mean, I saw people just loving it, but on different social media, but I didn't read anything specific until I read it myself. And then I go back to see if everybody, agrees with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, everybody felt exactly, when they were done with this book, they felt exactly the same way I did. So I think that's a testament.
Well, that's good to know. I really write for readers. I want them to be entertained and want them to enjoy the book.
Yeah.
I feel satisfied at the end. I don't want to leave them hanging.
Yeah. Well, and I always wonder, I always ask you guys that write thrillers this question, just for authors who are out there trying to write their first thriller, is like, when you're mapping those out, like, I constantly think about that, because I am thinking about the book and that I am going to get to talk to you, but I'm like, oh my gosh, it just seems like, how did you do it? Like, are you using note cards, like, to keep track of where you are or where these other characters are? Or, do you have any tricks that you use that, keeps you in line with what is going on in the story?
I think it does come down to whether you are, as a writer, are a planner or a pantser, somebody who just sort of explores and discovers the book as you go. And I'm more of an explorer in the sense that I write a flying into the mist draft. I have a general sense of where the book is going, but I don't know the ending or all of the plot twists before I start writing the book. And then I had to go back and fit all the puzzle pieces together. So it really comes down to a lot of revision for me. And at one point I used a program, Scrivener. I don't normally use it. I use Word. But I learned Scrivener in the middle of revisions of this book. I went in and did a 10-minute video tutorial, and because I had so many pieces that needed to go and be moved around, Scrivener was a great organizational tool. So I wasn't using actual note cards, but it has on the screen, it looks like note cards, and you can move the note cards around for scenes. It's extremely useful. But once I had moved all of those scenes around, then I exported everything back to Word and wrote straight in Word again, because I didn't want all of those bells and whistles anymore. I wanted to then work on it in all the scenes in the right order. But it was hard. It was very difficult. This book was more of a puzzle than my previous 2 books.
It must be so exciting, though, when you figure something out. Like, I can only imagine, like, when something comes to you and you're like, oh my gosh, that's just perfect. That's gonna, I can imagine that feeling of just like figuring it out, figuring out that twist. Yes.
And then you look at the book when it's finished and I'm thinking, how did I ever do that? I don't even know. It's this mysterious process. I think creativity in general is a very mysterious process. We can talk about it, but in the end, we don't really know how anything is created. You could talk to any type of artist, a sculptor or a painter or a writer, and our process is so mysterious and kind of subconscious, a lot of it. I think if we think about things too much when we're in the creative process, it can have sort of a censorship effect, or you have to just allow whatever it is you're creating to come out and not think about it too much. It's only afterward that you go back and try to analyze everything. So I can say, this is the way I write, but with each book it's different. I think it's the same for other types of art, that one book is easier than another, and in the end, when you look back at the finished product, you don't remember sometimes how you did it.
Right. You're like, that was a great idea. I wonder where I got that from.
Yeah, exactly. It's just there. And then you have to pretend that you understood the process and go, oh, yeah, well, I did this and this, and I put this puzzle piece here, and it all worked out perfectly. So, yeah.
Well, I am so happy for you. And I know, like, you're promoting this book. And just for everybody out there, what are you working on next? Because you've got to be, like, somewhere in the midst of a next one while you're doing this.
Yes, I have another manuscript due September 1st.
Oh, wow.
Tentative publication date will be next summer. I'm very excited.
Oh, great. Is that what you're trying to, are you on like a one book a year? Are you trying to keep that kind of going?
I would like to, yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. It takes me a year to write a book.
Well, I feel like with all the publicity and everything else you have to do, like, that's because every book takes time. Like now you're getting you get to do the fun part with this book, as you're like working on the next one. And I just feel like that makes it flow,
Yeah, I love interacting with readers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see everybody is talking about this. I can see, and I see on social media, and, that must be very, very fun. Very fun.
It is. It's really fun talking to you, too.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed this book so much. I cannot wait to, get it out there. Everybody, you can get it already. I'm going to have the Amazon link listed below. I'm also going to be giving away a copy on Instagram, and I can't wait to see where this book takes you, because I just loved it so much, and everybody else has too. So it'll be so much fun to just watch it go out there and do great things for you.
Thanks, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and we will talk soon. I definitely want to read it. I can't wait till your next one. I definitely want to read it early. I can't wait.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, AJ.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to AJ and I talk. I loved her so much. I cannot wait to talk to her again. And like I said, I'm going to be giving away a copy of After Nightfall on Instagram tonight. So you got to go there to win, and I will put the link below. And thank you so much, AJ. All of AJ's links are going to be listed underneath here. And thanks for watching, everyone.